everybody. This is the Hallmarkies podcast, and I'm Rachel, and I'm so excited today to bring you an interview with one of our favorite Hallmark writers. This is very exciting to have the chance to talk to Tracy Andreen, who has written so many Hallmark movies. This is incredible. So Tracy, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited. I've listened to you guys, so this is kind of fun being on the other end.
Yeah, it's surreal, right?
I'm like, oh, I know this voice. Hey, how are you?
Yeah. Well, we feel that way because I was just looking through your IMDb and I'm just like, oh my gosh, she did that. And she did that. And she did that. Oh my gosh, that one's really good too.
This has been quite a year, I have to say. Like, I've had 6, but once next week, once it's Christmas Eve airs, I'll have had 6 Hallmark movies this year.
Amazing.
And then last year, I don't remember how many I had last year. I know I think I had 5 movies air, but I think only 3 of them were on Hallmark, which All for Love, Switched for Christmas, and Christmas Getaway were the 3 that I had last year on Hallmark. But this year has been like a Hallmark palooza, and I am so incredibly grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, we like to ask our guests to just introduce yourself and tell us what inspired you to become a writer.
Okay, introduction. I probably should have put a little more time between when I just handed in a project and now, but so my brain isn't quite so much like porridge. So I apologize in advance. Who am I? Who am I, Rachel? I don't know, but I'm going to try to sum it up.
That's okay. There's no test. So do you
test, thank God.
Did you grow up in Canada or the States or?
I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was actually born in Riverside, California, but my mom and dad moved back to Tulsa where they're from when I was only about like 2 years old. So I was raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I attended the University of Oklahoma, which means I know football a lot. I love football a lot. Yeah. And then I moved out as soon as I graduated from college, like within 3 months. I moved to Los Angeles, California to pursue a career in screenwriting. And it was something I always knew I wanted to do, which is sort of odd since I was like a little girl in Tulsa, Oklahoma, whose dad was an oil accountant and whose mom was an occasional secretary or stay-at-home mom, depending on what we could afford at the time or what she could get. There's really like no connection for my family to the film industry other than my mom loved reading, which she imparted to me and my 3 brothers, and my father was a movie aficionado, which he also imparted to me and my 3 brothers, which is why 2 of my brothers are also out here or in the entertainment industry. The 3rd brother is just making money in Phoenix, Arizona in the flip or flop business. He's kind of like the Chip and Joanna from Fixer Upper kind of world, which I admire greatly. But anyway, so like, it's kind of funny that like 3 of the 4 of us ended up out here in Los Angeles trying to pursue our own careers in the entertainment business. So, and I came out here, I got a job working in film development for various companies. I worked for Amblin/DreamWorks for a while, and then I moved over to Mandalay Entertainment, then Mandalay Pictures. And then I sold a couple of screenplays to Mandalay while I was still an executive there. That was super fun. That means it was the times that I had no sleep whatsoever. And then I kind of reached a point where I had to determine if I was going to pursue film development or writing. And I really, I kind of had one of those moments where you're like, I didn't come out here to be a film development executive. I came out here to be a writer. So I left Mandalay. I got a job in administration, is a kind way of putting it. I was basically doing grunt work at a which was a total like 180 from before, where you're like driving onto the studio lot, here's my expense account, let's go to nice restaurants. And then you're like, I'm over in administration at an economic think tank in Santa Monica. But it afforded me the mental freedom to be able to pursue writing. And so that's kind of what I did, is I, slugged it out for a while. And then Lee Friedlander, who you have had on your podcast, and thinks very highly of you guys. She and I had met socially, and she, was, you're never going to meet anyone as just, she's dogmatic. Dogmatic, that's not the right word, but doggone it. She's really persistent. Yeah. Dogged, thank you. There you go. Remember, brain is porridge. And so she liked my writing, and she found, went out and basically scrounged up an opportunity a few years ago. She met a producer, this gentleman by the name of Tim Johnson, who does quite a few of the Lifetime and Hallmark movies. She got him to give us a chance. And so she was going to, at the time she was planning to direct. It didn't quite work out at that time. She has obviously ended up doing really well directing since then. But anyway, so she got us a chance to do this idea. So Tim Johnson basically says to Lee, all right, I'm going to give you a title and see if you can come up with a story on the title. Well, the title was A Bride for Christmas. That is not the movie that we ended up doing, but I'm just letting you know, it was called A Bride for Christmas. And so, Lee comes to me and says, can you come up with something? And I'm thinking, I have never seen a Hallmark movie in my life. So of course my answer is, yes, of course. And it was just one of those great sort of moments where the universe was like, hey, guess what? It happens to be July. And so what does Hallmark have in July but Christmas in July? So I just sat down and watched 800 hours of Christmas movies. And I took notes. And those Hallmark bingo cards that are going out around the world now?
Including on our website. You can download.
Oh, do you? Oh, there you go. Yeah. There we go. Synergy. We're working together and we didn't even know it. So I could have come up with that back in 2012. Yeah, 2012. Because I just took notes. I was like, gingerbread house? Okay, excellent. Will there snowball fight? Fantastic. Is there a dance? Excellent. Can we get them in formal attire? Wonderful. So I'm writing all this stuff down. And then I kind of came up with a pitch, tossed it out there, got accepted, which I was super excited about. And then started writing. I got about halfway through writing it, and we got a call from Tim, the producer, and he said, yeah, okay, here's the deal. I don't want her to be a bride. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't want her to be a bride. And I don't think I want it to be Christmas either. I'm like, but Tim, it's literally called A Bride for Christmas. What do you want it to be? He's like, I don't know yet. So long story short, convinced him to, because I'm like, literally, I'm looking at page 60 on my script, and so he if your brain sort of goes on fire by that point. Yeah. And so then I got him to still keep it Christmas, but I had to make her no longer a bride. All sorts of reworking and reconfiguring. And long story short, I sent in a script. He likes the script, but he's like, I've already got another writer doing A Bride for Christmas, so we're going to come up with another title on this, but I'm still going forward with the script. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah. And then long story short, Lee didn't end up directing that project, which got named Snow Bride. Yeah. And that ended up being the first one that I did for them. And I don't know if you guys, if Lee told you this, but through the course of this, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to get my sister-in-law, who was coming off Spartacus at the time. I was really I was like, you know what? I don't have a lot of shots, but I'm going to try to just see if my sister-in-law, I can get her in this. My sister-in-law is Katrina Law.
No way.
And so,
get out of town.
Yes. Yeah. So Lee and I, this is early January 2013. And by this point, we know my script is going forward. Lee's going to produce it now. We're going to meet another Hallmark producer by the name of Michael Vickerman and the man who ultimately directed the movie, Bert Kish. So the four of us meet in kind of a hi, how do you do kind of and Bert and Lee are talking. We're in this random kitchen in the middle of nowhere. Bert and Lee are having a conversation while I'm chatting with Vickerman. And so that's when I had that moment of I'm going to do it. For family, I'm going to pitch my sister-in-law. So I start telling him about Katrina. And as it turns out, Mike Vickerman, who's done quite a few of the Hallmark movies, he actually really loved Spartacus, and he knew who Katrina was. But here's the thing. Spartacus is great, but it ain't exactly Hallmark. Okay. It's not Hallmark. So I was kind of worried, this is going to be kind of a stretch, guys. Meanwhile, just by just the total fluke of the universe, right, diagonal from me, Bert is talking with Lee, and I hear him say Katrina Law. And I think, naturally, he's overheard me talking to Vickerman. So I look at him and I'm like, yeah, exactly. I kind of have one of those moments. He goes, oh, do you know her? And I was like, what? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm shooting an independent. And Lee at this point is like, like it's her sister-in-law. He goes, I'm shooting, and he was doing camera work, DP work on an independent film that Kat was doing in Death Valley. And so we all kind of in that moment had this moment of like, okay, Katrina has to do this movie, which was great for the four of us. But now we're having to all four try to convince Hallmark that this woman who's coming from Articus, and I think she's done Chuck and some other like independent action stuff. She's really funny, and I'm like, guys, I know her. She's really funny. And they're like, but thanks the universe. Please. Yes. Hi, I know you don't know who I am, and I've never written anything for you guys, and I'm kind of this random person on the street. But this person who is in one of the most brutal, bloody television shows imaginable is hilarious and kind of a goofball. Yeah. And so fortunately it all worked out, and she got in there, and she just did I think it's still to this day probably it's my favorite movie that for dozens of reasons. Yeah.
I mean, it's really good. It's really fun, and it's just kind of bonkers. The whole idea of her like being in this wedding dress in the middle, and her, we love movies about like fake fiancés, we call them, or sort of pretending to be somebody that are not. We're big fans. They didn't have any last Christmas, which we were very upset about, but it looks like they're going to have a couple this year, so that's good.
Oh, good. I love the good fake fiancé. Well, that was kind of what I was like. I was like, who doesn't love a good fake fiancé story? Like, come on. And who doesn't do one? I mean, it really, what everyone does.
Yeah, it really goes back to rom-com roots, Christmas rom-com, especially with Christmas in Connecticut. It goes way back to
Barbara Stanwyck.
Yeah, Barbara Stanwyck. She set the bar. And
she did. Look, exactly.
Yeah.
See, I grew up with my dad, who was the movie buff, taking it back. He basically gave me probably the best unofficial education in film that I could have ever had. Amazing. I sat down. Yeah, he would sit there and give us, random trivia bits as we were watching, the old movies with Barbara Stanwyck, with, Howard Hawks, Preston Sturges. Dad loved John Ford, although it doesn't really pertain to rom-com bill, but like all of this stuff, the MGM musicals, Gene Kelly, loved Gene Kelly, all that stuff, Comden and Green, Billy Wilder kind of stuff. That's actually what I was raised on. And so it really helps in my present day writing, and being able to understand the rhythms of banter.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, and the thing I appreciate about Snow Bride is that it's got some of that sort of classic kind of banter between the characters. It's, which I feel like in the last couple of years, they've kind of moved away from being funny to being sweet. And that's fine, but I do miss like watching a Hallmark movie and having some real laughs and having real romantic comedy. So
I've noticed in the 5 years that I've been doing this, there's definitely been a shift in the tone of the notes that I get. But I will say this: when I get notes, because I both watch the Hallmark movies just because at this point I frankly like them. I don't know if I've been brought in. I don't know what it is, but I do. I'm like I find myself sitting down. I'm like, the world is hard and I'm tired. I'm going to watch two people fall in love nicely. So like that's what I'm going to do. And if there's Christmas, even better. Yeah. So I genuinely watch them, but also what I've noticed, and so I've noticed the shifting in tone. However, from my perspective as a writer, I always get notes almost always get notes up the banter, more banter. And I don't know if it's because they bring it to me because they're like, hey, you're the banter girl. Or I don't know what it is, but my my notes generally tend to be, we need more banter. And I noticed that I think mine have more banter than some others. I mean, Nina actually, bringing it back to Nina and Julie, I know I watched theirs and they're hilarious. Like they do banter too. So it's not, what I will tell you, it's not as much as it used to be, and certainly not as what you see in Snow Bride is. A sort of shifting away from the physical comedy.
Yeah, but it really can elevate a project. Like, speaking of Julie, like Finding Santa, I thought like the plot wasn't like the greatest thing to ever exist, but there was a lot of funny lines about like her doing this, him writing the zombie musical or outsider zombie musical. That was funny, and so it really elevated the movie. And I think you can say that with a lot of yours as well. I think All for Love for sure was elevated by some
we had fun with that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That one was in my top 5 last year, non-Christmas. Hallmark, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was really good.
I will also say it helps. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but
no.
Sarah Rue, in terms of her ability to, like, she's just innately gifted in terms of being able to do funny dialogue but also to be able to, like, in the other moments, to convey emotion and pathos. She's fantastic. I mean, I really would love the opportunity to work with her again.
Yeah,
and I remember when Lee was. When Lee was on set, that's the first one she filmed that she and I worked together with her as director and me as writer. And she was like making me look at dailies because usually I don't like to. She's like, no, you have to watch these. They're really good. And I watched her, and I made sure that she went and told Sarah. I said, look, she's honestly my sister-in-law side. Oh, everything will be like my sister-in-law side. Sarah Rue is probably the best at being able to nail the intonations of what it is I was going for dialogue, because it can be kind of hit and miss, where you're like, you put it out there, you're like, of course someone's going to totally understand exactly how I meant that to be said, and then you watch, you're like, nope.
Well, and I just thought that it was a really good story about her gaining confidence again, and it's not just about the romance, because that's obviously, romance is very predictable, but that's what we like about it. We like that it's predictable, but it's fun when there's sort of another level there in the character. And I thought that was a really good example. And I loved Steve Bassett in that movie. I thought he was such a great, like, teddy bear of a man. I loved him.
He was great. He really was. That was a concern. I'm sure you imagine, where it's like we've crafted a character who's like a Navy SEAL, and on some level you're like, please don't hire someone scrawny. We need a guy who looks like that man could have been a Navy SEAL at some point in his life.
Oh, for
sure. And Steve Basic,
Like, I loved the scene when he teaches her to swim. That was a great scene. It was very.
You know what? Lee Friedlander is the sort of the architect behind that one. She kept trying to be because I think I leaned a little farther away from making it sexy, and Lee's like, no, make it sexier. And I was like, what we're writing for, like, right? Like, so I thought she did a great job with that.
Yeah, she did really, really good. Yeah. So you guys have worked together on, so is it just 3? No, is it 3 movies?
Nope. 5. It's actually, no, it's 6. Although I don't really count Killer Coach, which is a non-Hallmark one, because I didn't have a lot to do with that. She directed it, and technically I was the writer on it, but I don't know.
So you did All for Love, and Love, of Course, and Switch for Christmas, and
and she produced Ice Sculpture Christmas and Snow Bride.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What do you think works so well in that dynamic between the two of you?
We just completely can tell each other anything. And there's no, sometimes because we already know each other as friends, and we just have a really good communication, she can be as pushy as she wants to be with me. And I can turn around and be like, stop it. And then she'll laugh, and then I'll laugh, and we move on. Like, there's just no, and she gets these ideas, and she has a fantastic visual eye for what and how to, and the rhythm for how scenes should. I thought Love of Course was probably her best work in terms of directing, and she got great performances, in my opinion, out of Cameron and Kelly, and that was probably like there were some really great moments in that and they were not something like I can put whatever I do in the screenplay, but in the execution, if you don't have the right cast and if they're not well directed, you know, it could very well not work.
Well, the thing that was, I think, the best about Love, of Course, is obviously Cameron Matheson is a dream, but what I like
not hard on the eyes.
Yes, is so they have had so many of these near kisses on Hallmark movies, and after you've watched a bunch of them, it gets kind of old. It's like, because sometimes it's so ridiculous. Like, oh, you hear some like the tiniest little sound and it stops, or the phone, like let the phone ring. Are you kidding me? And what I liked in Love, of Course, is I liked that it was actually a near kiss that made sense to the character because she was insecure. And that's why she didn't want to kiss, not because there was some random sound that stopped them. And I thought that, I was like, that's how you do it. That is how you do a near kiss.
I agree. I was like, when I was writing it, I remember getting to that point. And sometimes when you write stuff, you know exactly what the characters are going to do. And sometimes you get to a point and you're like, oh, I had no idea that that's where it was going to go. So I knew they were going to dance. I knew they were going to come back to, you know, he was going to drop her off. And I knew they could not kiss because so they couldn't kiss until the end. So I was like, okay, but so then you start listening. Writing is a weird profession, by the way. It's just, I always refer to it as managed schizophrenia. So it's like you start listening to the voices of the characters. And in this particular moment, it's like, who is Amy Andolini in this moment? And how would she feel? And I was like, this is a woman who hasn't kissed anyone in many years. Like her husband's been dead for, passed for 6, who knows what. I mean, I assumed actually he was sick. And so I assumed that it was one of those things where she had gone a while without being actually intimate with someone. And suddenly, like, there's this guy in front of her who, let's not kid ourselves, he's just ridiculously sexy. And so, on one level, you want to be like, I would love to kiss your lips all over the place. And on another level, you're like, I haven't done this in so long. I'm nervous. Yeah. And I think that that's kind of where it all kind of came out in that. And what I loved was how Cameron navigated the moment right afterwards, and how he, while it is scripted that he kissed her on the forehead, it's how he did it. And,
it was
so that's actually one of my favorites too. It was really sweet. But I will tell you that Love, of Course, does have probably one of my all-time favorite scenes that I wrote, and that's the corn maze scene.
Oh, okay, the Marco Polo.
Marco Polo. There's, when you write a script, it's very rare that you have a scene or a sequence that doesn't get touched in some way or changed in some fashion. It's just the way it is. And the Marco Polo corn maze scene it's not exactly what it was written in the first draft. It's minor changes. It is literally like the same thing untouched. And Lee and I had written it originally in 2017 for the 2017 Fall Harvest. We just didn't make it in time. And so when it came back for this last spring, and they were like, hey, guess what? It's coming for this one. We were like, oh, great, excited. But we did that never changed.
Ah, good. It's a really fun moment when she turns around and she sees him on that tractor looking all sexy. I was feeling it was good.
Right?
Plus, then you brought it back at the end with the Marco Polo again, and the really good final kiss. Yeah.
Good. Oh, right. Great kiss. Yeah. So that was Lee's whole goal for Cameron in the movie. I'm just going to do the Lee for you. She doesn't even need to come back on. I'm just going to do it for her. So she basically, her goal was, she's like, I'm going to make Cameron look hot. She's like, I'm going to dress him like a guy. She's like, I'm putting him in Henleys and jeans, and that man's going to be as hot as he should be. And I was like, bravo. I was like, let's do it.
That's hilarious.
And by the way, I know we keep talking about Cameron, but Yeah, right. But Kelly was fantastic. Like, I thought she just was so natural and sweet and just like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, having seen a lot of dailies on that, she's basically that person in every take. I did not meet her, but Anne Carlucci, who's the producer, and Lee Friedlander, who directed it, both I know very well, and they're like, that's exactly who she is. So
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I had never seen her in anything before, so it was my introduction to her, and I really thought she did a great job. It was really good. So, yeah, that was neat. And I mean, you really had an incredible string of success, really. With, I mean, I love Stranded in Paradise. I think that one is really good. I think.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I mean, because James Denton, hello.
Oh, sidebar, he is one of the nicest guys. That was one of the few sets I got to go on. And he and I had just we had this lovely conversation. And I remember just thinking, you are really a quality, nice guy.
Yeah, good delight and super handsome. And I just really liked Vanessa's journey in that movie, because she's not an ice queen of business, which is something I hate. I hate when
Me too.
It's like assumed if you have a career, then you're a horrible, heartless woman who's chosen a career over motherhood. And I hate that. And so I liked the fact that she was a nice person and like very good at her job and taken for granted by her boss. And and I love Vanessa Marcel. I think she's really fantastic.
She did a great job.
Yeah, great job. And just her character, she's in this pretty desperate spot. And she's going to this thing that she shouldn't really be going to out of kind of desperation, trying to, so I think that there's quite a bit of character growth for that character through the course of the movie. And I think her and James Denton had pretty good chemistry. And so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was
really good.
Yeah.
That was also directed by Burt Kish, by the way, who directed Snow Bride. He did both.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And where was that filmed? Was that in Mexico?
No, it was actually filmed in Puerto Rico. Nice. How about that?
Yeah.
I got to go there. I've been on two sets, Puerto Rico and Big Bear. Snow Bride was actually filmed in Big Bear. Who knew? Not Canada for either of them.
Yeah, that's funny.
And Puerto Rico is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it breaks my heart right now. I don't know what it's like at the moment, but,
what they've been going through.
The old San Juan is probably one of the most beautiful places. And they, I thought, did a really great job taking advantage of the ambiance.
It was beautiful. Yeah. And Ice Sculpture Christmas is a delight. That's one of our favorites.
Yay.
Because I mean, Rachel Bloss.
That's the only title. I thought for sure they were going to change that title because almost all titles change. And I was like, we're really not going to change Ice Sculpture Christmas. That's what we're going with. Right. And we did.
But that one was really good. David Alpay, he's another dream. Love him. And that one's a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, I love All for Love. I thought was really great. And one really interesting one I wanted to ask you about last year on Up Channel, you had the Christmas Princess, and that was based on a true story, right?
That was actually Donnelly Martez is the young girl on whom the story was based. A producer by the name of Ronnie Klimmer, who's one of the nicest and most seasoned producers in the business, and especially in the MOW business. He came to me with this idea. He had read an article that he'd optioned from the LA Times about Donnelly and was like, let's go. I want to turn this into a Christmas movie. And with, Up Channel, you have a little more freedom to be a little darker. Yeah, you can, because it is a darker film. She's had to go through quite a few struggles in her life to get where she is. Having, she was, went through the foster care system, and her mother, her mom had a lot of stuff that she went through. And so, but Donnelly persevered, and she just, she is a really positive, very, very, very strong young woman. Yeah. And she got to be, I mean, here's the thing. I got a crash course in rose princesses, which is not my natural wheelhouse. And there, if you're a young woman in the Pasadena area, you've probably tried out to be a rose princess. So that's like thousands of people. And to be, chosen as one of the select few is truly an honor. And Donnelly did that. So.
Yeah. I love anything with like an adoption, foster care message. And I just think it's a really selfless, beautiful thing when done correctly.
Agreed.
But
when done correctly, exactly, yes.
I love that scene when she says, are you guys are gonna get tired of me or something like that, and she's gonna leave.
Oh, the
and
Christmas tree.
And
see,
the dad says, if you left, our hearts would be broken. I was like, it was so good.
So that was I'm pretty good about, I know exactly which scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when I wrote it, I'm usually, let's just say this, I'm usually pretty amenable when I get notes back of like, and I don't really like really plant my flag very often. But when the first draft on that, and it came back, I got the note to cut that scene. And I said, no. I literally said, absolutely not. I said, this is the heart of the entire movie. Yeah. And I'm not, it's not like I'm going to walk, but I was like, what I basically said was, I respectfully disagree. Let's submit it with the scene in to see what the feedback is. Unfortunately, the feedback was, we love that scene. Because I was like, look, I cried when I wrote it. It was like, so, like, I'm not cutting this scene. I will cut any other scene, but not this one,
That
so I'm really glad you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it was really, the tears were there.
Make them cry.
Yeah. You did a good job. And so this year you had Once Upon a Prince, and this was based on a book. So Amber and I both read, and we both quite enjoyed it. So I was wondering, what is the difference as far as a writer in tackling an adaptation versus your own ideas?
My own work, my own ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I've now including Christmas Joy that airs this weekend, which is based on Nancy Nagle's best-selling novel. I will now have had 3. That will be the 3rd novel that I've adapted, including Stranded in Paradise, Once Upon a Prince, and then Christmas Joy. And my general principle when approaching an adaptation of a novel is my first pass, I hew as close to the original source material as possible, keeping in mind that, what Hallmark's parameters are, and that, sometimes you can't put stuff in there because that's the way it is. But I try to keep it as close to the original source as possible, because my feeling is, well, you bought the book, but don't you want this? Is that what you want? My experience has been in the 3 adaptations that's what we start off with. And then the final product tends to be more like a reflection of the general intent of the book. And it evolves along the way based on notes that come back. The good news so far.
I mean,
So
Once Upon a Prince was pretty close. The only real difference that I saw is that the book is more faith-based and has.
Yes. Well, I don't know I can't remember if Christmas Joy is. I know Stranded in Paradise is faith-based, and I know that Once Upon a Prince is faith-based. I think Christmas Joy has elements in it, if I remember correctly, but it's not. I don't believe it is specifically in the faith-based genre. And Hallmark is not anti-faith-based by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, quite, But what they want to do is kind of have a non-denominational sense of faith, if that makes any sense, and that's kind of what we kind of shoot down the center of that, which I totally understand. Look, the world right now is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and in terms of a lot of people, and we all need a safe space, and this is a safe space. It just is, and that's for everybody. So that's good. And I loved Rachel's work in Once Upon a Prince. I thought it was hilarious. I thought to the very end, and I lost. But I wanted to keep the line, which cracked me up in reading the book, when she at the very end says, she goes, are y'all tailgating my engagement? Like, I wanted that desperately, but at the end, it got axed. I was like, oh, I wanted the barbecue shack. I wanted to hit as much of the Georgia as possible because I like that. But at the same time, I think that the relationship between Nate and Susanna came through, and I thought, frankly, Jonathan and his portrayal of Nate was fantastic in the movie.
Yeah, I love when he is wearing his gardener shirt,
green
shirt.
Spite.
Yeah, the green shirt to spite his parents. He's like,
that actually, you want to know, that came out towards the very end. I think that was one of the last things I did. It was one of those kind of epiphanies where I was like, you know what? He needs to be wearing the shirt. He needs the shirt. And I put that in, and I was super patting myself on the back in my sort of, dazed stupor. I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm like, he's wearing the shirt. There we go. I don't know why that made me laugh. Maybe because I was brain dead. So, but I thought it was fun too. I'm glad so far we're simpatico here about the stuff that we like.
Yeah. I have to admit, I wasn't a huge fan of Switched for Christmas, just because I felt like I was hoping it would be funnier, because I thought that there was so much potential for this single girl raising, with these teens, for it to be really funny. But then it was just kind of like everyone knew. And so it was sort of like, I thought they took out the funny.
Can I tell you a story? I don't know if you want to include it or not. I will tell you the story. There was, until the movie started shooting in October. No, did it? October, September. Until about 2 weeks before we started shooting, the kids did not know. And the kids were there was a completely different third, fourth, and fifth act. And then it was decided that, and I understand why, from Hallmark's perspective, they did not feel that we should have a parent lie to their child.
Yeah.
And so as a result, there was a pretty quick modification. And by modification, I mean, we're tearing up the middle of the movie? Okay, sure. 2 weeks before shooting. I didn't want to eat or sleep. What was that? What are you talking about? So that's when we had to sort of really, figure things out. And originally there was more for Piper to do, because Piper was kind of this tech obsessed teen. And our whole idea was that she's, constantly on her phone, that she doesn't even notice it's not her mom, and then at the end, when she realizes she has that epiphany, she's embarrassed. And she kind of had, and there was this really good scene between the Piper and her grandpa, where she just felt like, I can't believe I didn't know it was my mom.
Yeah.
And Gabe had figured it out by that point. And so that's where, there was a little more shenanigans. But
yeah,
and
I can understand why they would want it to do that. I get it, but I do too. Why am I watching this movie about two people planning parties? This is not
No, I do. I get it. And this is no, I do. Believe me, we wanted to lean into the shenanigans as much as we could.
Yeah.
But it is, and I understand you don't want to lie to the kids. That said, Hallmark, Lee and I, and actually Candace had pitched to Lee on set an idea for a sequel. And there's not a lot of stuff that I've written that I'm like, yeah, it's a sequel. I would love to do Switched at the Wedding and really kind of explore the characters more, because I don't feel that we got to explore the two characters or their relationships with their respective guys. More importantly, and this is just from my own perspective, I would have loved to explore the guys more. Yeah. Frankly. So,
it would be fun. If you had them all going, have you ever seen The Cabin, the Hallmark movie, The Cabin with Leah Thompson? It's pretty funny. It's about this woman who goes to Scotland and to this camp, and she ends up with there's this other family, and they end up having to share this cabin together because they're overbooked. And there's all these course they hate each other first, and you wouldn't be able to do quite that because obviously they're sisters, so they can't do that. But you could have them like both at this like camp, and then like have, because they look the same, you could have all kinds of shenanigans within the camp.
Do we have Parent Trap? Do we have like Lindsay Lohan come
yes.
in?
It would be so good.
We get Haley Mills to play their mother or grandmother at this point, I think.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
I bet she's available. That would be amazing.
I bet she's available, doggone it, right?
Oh
or at least Juliet is, you know?
Yes, we just come up with it. There you go. You got
That's it. Let's do it. Come on. We've perfected the art of the doodle, you know, wherever the dolly doodle thing that, you know, they used with the twin stuff. So I would love that one. And there's 3 movies that I've written that I would actually be like, well, I could see a sequel for that. That one with the twins, Under the Autumn Moon, because I feel like we just started, like, what's going to happen, you know, everyone with this ranch and whatnot. And I'd like the chance, because I came in on that one on a rewrite pretty late in the game, and I would love a chance to like tackle it like from a fresh script, because I think Lindy and Wes are adorable together, and I would love to do stuff with horses. And also, you were talking about like the story of a woman who is not like vilified for her success in her profession. That I thought was pretty good about not doing that. Like, in fact, she got the promotion and through her innovation and hard work, you know? So
also, poor Casey Manderson.
I know, right? He's just never gonna get the girl. It's just,
never gonna get the girl, and he gets fired for having an opinion about where. That was so funny.
Where to put sorry, buddy. We gotta love nature.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You're gone. But let's talk about these 2 upcoming films. So Christmas Joy. We're so excited to have Danielle Panabaker back, because she is in one of
she's adorable.
She's in a movie called Recipe for Love, and it's I joke that it has the Hallmark version of the ghost pottery scene in there. That's very dishy, very romantic, and I love it.
Really?
It's very much the Hallmark version, but they're like kneading bread, and it gets pretty blindfolded. It's pretty steamy.
Ooh.
It's very good. I love it. And so I'm really excited. Obviously, we won't have any of that shenanigans, but I'm still excited to see her back. I don't know.
Yeah, she's really cute.
Matt Long at all. He's new to me. So
he was new to me too, actually.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. And then I saw him, and he's fantastic. He's just so charming. Yeah. And adorable. And they look really, you know, sometimes when actors and actresses are together, you're like, you individually look fine, but together I'm not so sure. These 2 look like totally adorable together.
Oh, I'm excited. So what's this about? A little bit?
Well, yeah. So what it's about is a lot of sugar. There's like the character, it's a small town. Joy goes back, you know, she's in her career mode again, and her aunt, who's a pistol, Aunt Ruby, injures, I refer to it as gently injured, her ankle. Not so gently, but we don't really see it on screen. So she has to kind of go off and do a little bit of rehab, and this puts a monkey wrench in her plans to do the Christmas cookie crawl, which is quite a big deal in the small town in North Carolina.
Yeah. Cookie crawl.
Yes, cookie crawl.
So like Joy, a cakewalk or something? The cookie crawl?
Cookie crawl is not a cakewalk, as it turns out, in any stretch of the way. So Joy, sort of in her ignorance as to what a cookie crawl entails, volunteers to help. And Matt Long's character, Ben, who was her crush when she was growing up, had been helping her aunt through the whole process. And he's kind of trying to give her the heads up, like, hey, Joy, I don't think you really know what you got yourself into. Yeah. And she's a little like, yeah, I got it. And he's like, no, I really don't think it. No, I got it. So, and then she gets into it, and she's like, holy schmooly. And so then Matt's character, Ben, is also trying to work in a gingerbread contest. And so that's where like the line that I don't know if you've seen any of the ads where she's like, full stop. Crystal Falls has like a cookie crawl and a gingerbread. Like what? Like this is a crazy amount of sugar. And so they end up sort of teaming up together. Like he's like, look, if you'll help me with the gingerbread contest, doing this thing, this judging thing, that for reasons he needs someone to step in, he's like, I will help you with the cookie crawl. So the two of them work together and they fall in love over sugar.
I'm excited. That sounds delicious.
If you don't want a cookie after this, or a lemon bar or something like that, I will be shocked.
I've already got them in the fridge, ready to heat up.
Yes, well done. Good job.
So then, for it's Christmas Eve. Did they have, like, we're wanting to make a project for LeAnn Rimes and then we make the story, or was it we have the story, LeAnn Rimes is a great fit?
So I came in a little later into the game. This was a year of me being the Tracy. Can you come in at this stage and do something?
The script
I'm a very fast writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I should swing in. And, I was a little earlier in the process with this one, but still later to the game than if I did with Switched or with Snow Bride. So when I was brought in, they'd had a treatment that was created by Mark Armato. And so the story, and I don't know my understanding is LeAnn had been interested in doing a Christmas movie for Hallmark. And Stephanie Germain Vinegar, who is the producer, brought LeAnn into the Hallmark world, and they went forward with this project. And then I'm not really sure why Mark couldn't take it, to the screenplay format. I don't know if was too busy, had to do something else. I don't. But they basically gave me the call and were like, here's the treatment. Can you make some changes, X, Y, and Z, and then go. And so I took it from, that and made some adjustments to try to make it a little more Hallmarky. Introduce, like, originally he was a widow, and I was like, a widower, excuse me. I was like, can we literally, my job, I feel like half the time is like, can we not kill the parent? I'm like, is there any way we can just keep the parent alive somehow? Like send him off, but don't kill the parent. So now he's divorced, the Liam character, and he's the music teacher, and her character, LeAnn's character, Eve, originally just came to a random town, and my input was that she is coming back to her hometown, so she gets to be with her mom. And so that's when I sort of developed the mom and the stepdad character, and then and kind of went from there. And so that's kind of how it was. And then LeAnn's business partner, manager, songwriter, all around an amazing guy, this guy Daryl Brown, he and I and Stephanie worked on scripts. Like, I would get feedback, and LeAnn would read it and give notes, and then just kind of just keep going, and next thing you know, you're shooting a movie. That's it. And then she came up with three songs.
Well, I'm really excited because I loved Tyler Hines in Falling for You. I fell in love with him. I have interviewed him, and he was a delight. And I feel like they'll have pretty good chemistry. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I had never seen him before until I was watching dailies. It was kind of like Matt Long. It was one of those things where you're like, boy, I hope, who's, and as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, when we were talking about like people's innate ability to understand and comic timing, he has it. He just has that great comic timing. And he's a charismatic guy, and I really enjoyed watching him in the day. I have not seen even a rough cut of the movie, so I don't know, but I will tell you this: I spent a long time sitting down and thinking about how do I do a meet cute that's different than the other meet cutes, because I was like, I don't have a lot of time and I got to think of something. And this is next to, I really liked the roping the girl scene in Honor of the Autumn Moon. I felt like that was kind of like super fun. But this has a bookend with the meet cutes that I don't know if it makes it into the movie. I really hope it does, because it's one I'm like, oh, this could be fun. Especially if you love rom-coms.
Oh, well, that makes me really excited. And just the clips that they've shown, I'm like, before I knew you were the writer, I'm like, this sounds pretty sharp. This sounds pretty fun. Like you were saying with the
Good.
banter.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so I'm looking forward to it. Sweet and fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. And Christmas joy, and so yeah, this is really exciting. I mean,
I'm
wow.
excited too. I mean, I've this last 5 weeks with 4 movies, I've kind of been like, what? You know, like, oh my gosh. And I feel like after it's Christmas Eve airs, I can kind of relax a little, although not really, because I'm going into Valentine's Day right now.
Yeah.
I just turned in something called a little preview. It's called The Story of Us, and it's set in a bookstore, and which is totally my wheelhouse. So I'm super excited about that.
That sounds really cute. Well, I'm definitely excited for that and for these Christmas movies. Yeah, I feel the same way, except for I feel like I want to schedule a vacation after like the first week of January or something like that.
Right.
Like I did it.
Right. Yes. I survived. I admire all of you guys who do podcasts or reviews or even the folks who are on Twitter. I love following hashtags for movies on Twitter and for the Hallmarkies, because, you know, the dedication is admirable. I mean, high five to everybody. I just did an interview with Ruth Hill, and she's just like, she's got tons of like, sort of the same thing. I'm like, when this is over with, go to the Puerto Rico and have a vacation.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Meet James Denton. I don't know, along the way.
Yeah, meet James Denton. Anyway, so we like to end our interviews with some fun, silly holiday questions. So what we have normally, it's the Team Beat questions, but since it's Christmas, this is a Christmas edition. And so, first question: what is your favorite holiday drink?
Red wine? No, mulled wine, actually. Mulled wine.
Yeah.
I'm homemade mulled wine.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. What is your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Favorite holiday cookie is the sugar cookie, you know, with like shapes, with like, and that kind of thing. I love that. Well, especially if you get like the little green, little sugar bits on top of it and you make a Christmas tree or whatever. I love that.
Yeah. I like it, especially if they're real soft. And that's delicious. Yeah.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with a sugar cookie. I think that it's pretty basic.
Yeah. So what is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, sung by Judy Garland.
Ditto.
It makes me cry.
My favorite as well.
Yeah. I mean, I love that moment in the movie when she sings to her little sister and they're all good. That's the thing is like, Frank Sinatra changed it to Hang a Shining Star on the Highest Bough or whatever it is. But it's really, until then, we'll have to muddle through somehow from the Meet Me in St. Louis movie, because it's a sad, melancholy moment in the movie that changes everything. It's just such I love that.
It's like intense in that movie when like the little girls are chopping down those snowmen.
Really right? Margaret O'Sullivan, and she's like, I'm taking the snowman down. Love it.
So maybe what is your favorite Christmas movie? Like a classic or whatever.
My favorite Christmas movie is, it's such a cliche. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm nothing but cliches here, but it's It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, I love It's a Wonderful Life. You know, Jimmy Stewart kills me every time with his face and his tears, and you know, it's Susan's Pebbles, it's Susan's bedroom. You know, I'm in.
Yeah. Hello, movie hall. Hello.
Exactly. Hello. Oh my God, kill me. Oh, that's right, Clarence. That's right.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. They have it pretty much every year. They have it. I think it's TCM or whatever does it on the big screen. And so at least the last 3 years, I think I've gone to see it on the big screen, and it's really fun.
people kind of forget because it's got such the nostalgia factor that the movie's about a man attempting suicide at the very beginning of it. You know, it's like, it's dark. It's got some darkness in it.
Well, and some people are like, oh, well, like it really wouldn't be that big a difference if like I think it's over the top. I'm like, it's perfectly over the top, because if you were just about to kill yourself, like a subtle message is not what you need. You need it to be pretty stark. Like, of course that's what Clarence is going to do. He's not going to take him to Bedford Falls and it'd be like, oh, not that different. Like that doesn't.
Right. Your life was not that meaningful, to be perfectly honest. Not that much would change. I mean, you know, subtle differences. I think that the park would maybe not be quite so shiny, but you know, it had to be like how one person's life really makes an impact. I just, you know, give me I'm not a huge on schmaltz unless it's done something like that. I like sentiment. I like sentimentality in that, but I don't like too much schmaltz. But I don't even know if you would call that schmaltz. Maybe you would.
No, I mean, Frank Capra was on like a whole nother level. Like it's just like there's things, and then the's Frank Capra is just like another level.
Right. There's he's like, have I made my point? No, let me get the sledgehammer and hit you. Oh, and I don't know. The magic of Frank Capra is I'm like, you are in fact hitting me over the head, and yet I don't care. How does that work?
Yeah, I just saw Mr. Smith Goes to Washington on the big screen. And, you know, it was so interesting because I was going to thinking like, oh, this is going to be depressing because of where we're at now versus then. But I watched the movie and I'm like, you know what? It's kind of exactly the same.
It's kind of, the similarities are
lying and politicians being corrupt. And I was like,
what? Politicians are corrupt and lying to you right to your face to just, you know, for power? What? Seriously,
like, wow.
Honestly, if we watch Pottersville right now with you know, It's a Wonderful Life, you're like, they're corrupt. Have you seen Los Angeles lately? I got news for you.
Like, have we all watched Back to the Future too many times? Like, I feel like
right.
But anyway, so, do you have a favorite holiday tradition, like decorating the tree or something like that?
My favorite for holiday tradition for Christmas, besides just going out and seeing my family and having together, is probably, we used to do this when I was younger. We don't do this now because we were kids, but we used to go over to my grandma's, my mom's house on Christmas Eve and open one present from Grandma and Grandpa there. And then we could go and you know, and that was kind of like getting 2 Christmases, which when you're a kid, you're like, aces, 2 Christmases, what? You know, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because when you're a kid, you get enough presents. Like now that I'm an old fogey, I have like 2 or 3 presents, so I don't want to open one on Christmas Eve, and I won't have any presents.
Yeah, right. When you're a kid, you anticipate, you're like, am I getting no fewer than 30, right? Because anything less than that would be like, you know, I'm being gypped out here. This is ridiculous. You know? Yeah. Now I'm like, do I get a card? Just a card? Maybe a gift card. Actually, Visa. That's fine. I'm also a December baby, by the way. So I'm so used to having, I get it. I get the nice combination. Oh, yeah. I still do.
I always thought that would be hard about having December birthdays.
I'm December 6th, so I'm kind of like, y'all had 3 weeks between me, right? And then you can do 2. No,
because my birthday's January 23rd, and even then I felt like sometimes that's like verging on still a little too close sometimes. But what they would try to do many times is my sister's birthday is on February 6th, so they would try to have the combined present / gift / party, and it's like, no,
wrongness. Yeah,
that's right. We're not.
That's not allowed. We're not, exactly. Do you notice that we didn't have the same birthday? Sorry. No. I've got a brother whose birthday. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. But so, do you have? Speaking on that same thing, do you have a memorable Christmas gift that you've either given or received? Do you have your Red Ryder BB gun?
I do. Wait, I'm trying to think if that was my. Oh, it's funny you should say this. I was like, is that my Christmas birthday or Christmas birthday present? I can't remember That might have been my birthday present.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you, that was a bike I got, and it was my 10th birthday. Now that I think about it, but
Yeah.
because mom and dad gave me like which was not your question. The memorable Christmas that I had. This is probably going to just make me the biggest nerd and insight. Was when I asked for and received for Christmas from everybody every single Agatha Christie novel. And I ended up with the Agatha Christie oeuvre. And I was all of like 12 years old, 11. And I'm sitting there trying to like reading all of it. It was just voracious.
Nice.
That's nerdy.
Did you see Murder on the Orient Express last year?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
not
like
good.
it?
I liked it. I liked it. Just because I kind of liked aspects of it and here and then, but it never can, in my opinion, I don't think it can replace the one with Ingrid Bergman and Albert Finney.
Yeah, I thought it was so disappointing. I just thought, like, the last like 30, 45 minutes of the movie is him it's just exposition. It's just him talking.
Yeah.
And them literally sitting at a table and him standing in front of the table and him just talking. And I'm like, how is this? I thought it was super boring. It's just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, for me, I kept distracting myself with, well, Michelle Pfeiffer, look how great she looks. Yeah. She looks great. Is that, Daisy Ridley? I like her. Isn't she charming? So I kind of would lose myself like that, which is not exactly what you're going to, should be doing. I was like, oh, pretty nice cinematography. But you're absolutely right. When you were talking about, like, at the end, they were like, yamma, 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 yamma.
It's like,
but,
should be like they weren't, and they didn't do that good a job of sort of placing all these red herrings and all these clues. No. So you're like, ooh, and so I hope that I guess they're going to do a second one, and I hope that they make it much better because the ingredients were there, like, to make a good movie. It just anyway.
Sometimes it's like some of the I think one of my favorite. I just actually referenced in going back to the bookstore one, the Valentine's bookstore one. Who knows if it'll make it into the final cut. I referenced Agatha Christie's and Then There Were None. I'm like, I'm not sure if that's going to make it into a Valentine's movie, but it's like, we'll see.
That's really cool. So all right, so which do you prefer, Scrooge or the Grinch?
The Grinch.
Okay. So far, every single person has said the Grinch, which is interesting.
I think I like just, it seems more emotional, which is weird because it should be, Dickens isn't exactly known for being his subtlety either,
Yeah, I love them both because I'm an animation girl, so I love the Grinch and Scrooge. I'm a huge Christmas Carol fan, so it's tough. But so clear lights or colored?
Oh, colorful lights on my tree. But I actually use clear lights on the tree, colorful lights, but white lights in all sorts of other places. Does that make sense? Like, I literally have these white shelves in my living room with white lights around them, and I will just turn them on. But
well, we know that Hallmark twinkle lights equal love.
Twinkle lights do equal love. I've got some twinkle lights in the final moments of this particular bookstore one. I've got white lights in a courtyard with a tree. So, because I was like, what do I want? I want twinkle lights, man. I do.
Are you a good gift wrapper or not so much?
I'm an excellent gift wrapper. I worked in a bookstore when I turned 16. 2 weeks after I turned 16, my mom came home from Christmas shopping and told me I had a job at a bookstore, and I was like, I didn't know I was looking. So as a result, I have a lot of retail experience in wrapping, and I'm pretty doggone good at it. I fold things, I tape things, I make sure the lines are clear. I'm good. Yeah. If you need anything, send it my way. I'll wrap it and send it back to you.
Next movie you shoot, Utah, we'll know.
Right.
So do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
Do I have one?
Yeah.
I don't. I have had one. I live in Los Angeles, and just even having a sweater is kind of like, really? What are you, a hipster? You're faking it over there. But I would love to. I've had one in the past.
Maybe you can get one of those
baubles.
You maybe you can get one of those T-shirts that looks like an ugly sweater, but it's just a
right. That's what I should do. You're right. Or have you noticed they've got this whole stuff out now? Like this is my Hallmark Christmas movie watching T-shirt or something like that. I'm totally gonna.
Oh yeah.
Julie Sherman Wolf has one. She put on her Facebook page about like this is my Hallmark Christmas writing.
Yeah.
T-shirt.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. You passed the test.
That's it. Woo!
Yeah. You're official Christmas.
I'm in.
Yes. So
I was always a good student.
This has been so much fun, and there was like so much that we definitely have to talk again because there was like a bunch of movies we didn't even talk about. Amazing.
We didn't talk about The Spirit of Christmas, which Glamour magazine referred to as Hot Ghost for Christmas. So
I mean, Thomas Bourdain. If you listen to our Hunks of Hallmark podcast where we ranked our top 5 favorite Hallmark hunks, Thomas Bourdain makes my list because man, he is a hunky guy.
He's just beautiful. He's just beautiful. Did you see I'm sorry, we're going to go off on a Thomas Bourdain sidebar here as you were just wrapping up. But if you get a chance, if any of your listeners get a chance, go Google his name. And he does this commercial where he is pouring a drink, and then he's in a fireman helmet, and there's a kitten, and then he suddenly loses his shirt because no reason why to have a shirt on there. You do that.
That's why.
Yes. My gift to you is to tell you to go find that on YouTube.
We will.
You're welcome.
And if we ever going to make our Firehouse movie, then we are for sure going to have that in.
Yes. What? His shirt just spontaneously came off. I feel like like Alan Rickman in Galaxy Quest. I see you managed to get your shirt off.
Yes.
But anyway, that's for another podcast.
Well, great. This has been so much fun. We definitely will have you back on, and we're excited for the new movies. And do you have social media at all that you want to share? Or?
I am on Instagram and I am on Twitter, and I'm being very good on Instagram. I just throw up pictures left and right, whatever I want to do. And at Twitter, I'm a little more. I think it's just both of them are just my name, so I'm not that original. I can't. Yeah.
Anything like that. Okay, good. Well, I'll have that link in the description. If people want to check out your social media, they can. And you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews here on iTunes and on YouTube. And make sure you guys are following the podcast at Hallmark Movies Pod all over social media. And if you can put in your reviews on iTunes, we really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. So thanks so much, Tracy. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
No, anytime. So we will definitely keep in touch, and we will talk to you soon. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.